Talofa love, everybody. Lovely to see you tonight. Thank you for joining me on Island Girl Views. I hope you can hear me. Can you just let me know that you can hear me? Um, Tonight we have a very special guest and very close to my heart. Um, Someone who I've journeyed with over these last 2.5 years, nearly 3 years actually. And we have a lot of things to discuss tonight. So I'm going to invite her. Normally I'd start with a prayer, but actually she's incredible. So we're going to pray together before we start tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. So I'm going to add Mona to uh, Talofa Lava Mona.
Tēnā koe Leao.
So
Awesome.
lovely to see you tonight. So I'm just going to start off with a word of prayer, and then we'll get into our conversation. So Lord, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Thank you for your faithfulness to each of us. Thank you that you have every breath that we take belongs to you, Lord. So God, we commit tonight our discussion and just the wonderful things that Mona and her husband and her family are a part of to share tonight. So thank you. We ask that you might be glorified tonight in Jesus' name. Amen.
Mene. Beautiful. Thank you, Leao.
So, absolutely. I'm so excited about what your journey is right now. I've been watching you, and actually, what I'd like you to do is, first of all, to just introduce yourself and how we both met. Wasn't that an incredible experience?
It was life-changing for me. Nō reira, ngā mihi aroha, ngā mihi mahana ki a koutou katoa, ki a koe Leao, tēnā koe anō mō tēnei kāranga, ki te noho, ki te kōrero kei tō taha, nō reira, tēnā koe. Ko wai ahau, ko taranaki tōku maunga, ko waitara tōku awa, ko te ati awa tōku iwi, ko muna li tōku ingoa. Nō reira, kia koutou mā, tēnā koutou. Just thank you, everybody. Thank you, Leao. It's just always such an honour to be in the seat next to you, as always. And you're right, we have done such an incredible journey together. And where did we meet? It was at that Voices for Freedom forum, the very, very first one that they had, and they were just beginning. And I spoke, but before I spoke, I met you in the crowd, and you were sitting next to my husband, on very close, and you were the other brown face in the room. So I automatically was drawn to you, and we hit it off straight away. And I remember, because I was so nervous, so nervous, and you just really spoke calming words over me, through me, in me, and I was able to stand up and really speak from my heart. And it was quite an empowering moment for me to overcome that fear. So, and you were there to witness it, and we've been, this close since then.
We have. I remember going to that meeting and not remembering anything else that was spoken that night except for what you brought to the table, and just so incredibly inspired by your your journey and how deep your convictions were, and you spoke from a mama's heart. You spoke from a place that not many people I have heard speak from since that time, and we've heard, numerous people speak about things, and it really resonated with your heart and your journey. And what made you come to that point where you were actually speaking that night? Could you share a little bit about your journey?
It probably actually goes back a couple of years prior to that, and it was when the measles epidemic was sweeping through Aotearoa at that time. And I chose not to vaccinate my children. I believe that God's given us our immune system, and by just believing in what we've been given, and using our food and our lifestyle to make sure our bodies are strong and robust. And so, just seeing the fear and the propaganda that the government and what was all over the media outlets were putting out there, putting fear, especially because I live in South Auckland, especially into our Māori and Pacifica whānau, and what concerned me was that our people believed it and were scared, were fearful that their
Yeah.
babies were going to die, so we're getting them vaccinated. And yet there was no stories about, or nothing on the media about what to do if you caught it naturally. So my children, obviously, all of them caught it, and it's funny. It kind of went through me and my husband as well, and I saw it as a natural booster, because
Right.
years ago when we were kids. So yeah, it was just interesting seeing the dynamics and how the government fear was put onto our people. So I did a post. I put this post out, and
Yeah.
honestly, I had no idea it was going to change my life forever. And this post went global, which attracted thousands actually of people all around the world. Many reaching out, because they were going through the same thing in their countries. And there was a lady who reached out to me. Her name was Libby, and she just lived down the road from me. And her and this amazing group of women wrapped around me, and well, they were the founders of Voices for Freedom. So we
Sure.
went through that measles journey, and then went through so many different stages. From I was one of Sherry Tenpenny's students, so I went through her program. I was
Yeah.
supported by Taysway, Taylor Winterstein over in Australia.
Yeah.
Michael Sutton's the Millions March. He was wrapping around me. So that's when I met Edwin Tamasese, because
Yes.
then the measles epidemic ended up going over to Samoa, and then I was at grassroots level with him,
Mm.
witnessing the carnage of what happened there. And because I was Maori and spoke out, and had friends that were in Maori TV, they did an interview on me, and that blew up as well. And yeah, I had never been so supported by my people, but criticized by my people as well. And
Yeah.
then they used a news outlet in Perth. They used my photo and blamed me for the outbreak over there, and the way I
What?
and the way I was thinking. So yeah, it went quite and that's when all of the Aussie freedom fighters stepped up and said, hey, this is not cool. So through those processes, I created some really awesome friends, really
Wow.
different. I even got asked to speak at one of the freedom movements over in Sydney, but then we got locked down, so never made it. But and then, of course, COVID hit and blah, blah, blah. And then Voices for Freedom was created. So I watched those three amazing women, Claire, Alia, and Libby, create Voices for Freedom, and yeah, same with those ladies, the cry of a mother's heart to protect
Yeah.
our babies. And so, yeah, that's pretty much how I got to that day, because they asked me to speak from a Māori perspective. And what was interesting about that, I said, I can't really speak from a Māori perspective, because at that time, many Māori in Pacifica were lining up to get
To
jabbed,
get jabbed. Yeah.
or I was setting up vaccination stations and taking the funding for this and that, and I was like, oh, I can't speak from a Māori perspective, but I can speak from my perspective. And so that's when we ended up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of things that we saw and we went, this doesn't make sense. And I think from your first post, when it went viral and it went overseas, it was that whole, this doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. Why, why, even now, today, and as I saw in I think it was Stuff, they said something about there being 8,000 cases in New Zealand. Okay, so 8,000 cases today. We were locked down with one case, one. So and now we've got 8,000. The truth has come out about the transmission, not, wearing masks. That it was never meant to be. The vaccine was never meant to be for transmission. So as the truth is slowly dripping out, there's no way it's going to come out in force. You look, yeah, you look back over those 3 years, and the day that you did that post, and the times that you were um, ridiculed as well as supported, you realize that actually all of this has been something that God has called you to do. Now, I feel, he gave you, he affed you into that place where, because anyone else at the time would have just, lost the plot. But as you were navigating it, you realized that God had brought you this far into
Yeah.
that place, because by the time you spoke at that first Voices for Freedom meeting that we had, I just realized that there was something over you that God has given you
Oh,
to actually speak out,
give me
and
good.
I've seen you, you know, day in day out live and walk it. And if we all had that same type of courage, you know, we would be a lot further than we are now. Um,
Well, I think you're so right. It is God's purpose on my life. I totally believe that, because out of my family, well, I'm talking about my brothers and sisters, I've kind of followed the paths of my aunties, my uncles, my grandparents. So
yeah.
living off the land, growing our own food, using our rongoa to heal our bodies, using our hands to heal our bodies.
Mm.
So that's how we live. That's how we roll, So for me to stand up and speak against all of that stuff, it was totally my
Yeah.
conviction. Everyone out there can live how they want to, but that's not how I want to live. So you don't force me to
Yeah.
live like that. And that was
Yeah.
my issue, was that, how dare you tell me what to do?
Yeah.
I know what I know, and I love what I know, and I'm all good. And you guys be all good over there, but just be and so for me it was a lot of that, coming back to, the indoctrination that, and I'm going to speak from a Māori perspective,
Yeah.
1906, 1907. Can you hear my kids in the back?
Ah, it's fine.
Is
It's
that
fine.
okay?
We can hear you clearly. It's fine.
So 1907 is when they did the Tohunga Suppression Act on our people. So it became illegal from the government to go out and pick some kawakawa from the bush, bring it home and make up a tea or make up a balm to put on my skin. It became illegal. And if I got caught, I would go to jail. It was also illegal to
Wow.
breastfeed your babies. But you could be a wet nurse for the Pākehā, but you couldn't breastfeed your own babies. And if you got caught, you were taken to jail. Now, to get out of jail, you had to pay a fine. And then, excuse me, can you shut the door, please? Oh my gosh. Welcome to the Lee whānau. Yes. Okay. I'm
I
sorry.
love this. You're fine. I'll talk. She's what she's saying is actually makes sense, because I think there was legislation that just came out um, this year in regards to not being able to use Māori medicine. So this is quite shocking that actually from that, and we hear what Muna's saying, like 1908 you said?
07. Yeah.
Oh 07. So this year they've got legislation not to use Māori medicine.
Yeah.
They're trying to push that through. This is mind blowing to me. That in one sense they're giving Māori, extra, yeah, and then in the other sense they're taking away their natural medicine. I don't understand that. Maybe you have a little bit more of an understanding one.
Oh, no, you know what? I don't really, I'm so over them, that power and control. I just ignore them. Like, they can say whatever they like. I'm still going to go and do how I roll and what I do. And for me, it's about the legacy I leave behind with my children and my
Yeah,
grandchildren. And it's important that for me that this knowledge is passed forward to the next generations, because I always come to that place. If there was, like, I don't know, some huge catastrophe, and the power was taken out, and a way of living what we know now, who is going to be the ones that will be able to survive? The
yeah,
hunters,
that's right. Yeah,
the weavers, the medicine experts, and the gardeners. Those were the ones that survived. So for me, that is so much more important. And I don't think any legislation for me, or any government mandate, is going to stop that for me anyway. Yeah.
That's an important that's an important thought you've just said, that because the more of us that understand what is happening around us, the more we're going to have power. You know, it's our own sovereignty. It belongs to us. Whatever thing that comes out to say, look, we're shortage of this, shortage of that, it's doing is projecting fear. I think Joseph said, yeah, the fear paralyzes the mind to think clearly. Now
Mm.
that is a very good that is a very good statement, because that is all we've had over the last 2.5 years, 2 to 3, 2.5, 3 years of fear, just hot air of all these experts that have brought fear. You know, even the Prime Minister, there was uh, a prediction of thousands of people dying from COVID. You know, where's the apology from that? Why hasn't there been, look, we got this wrong, you know, to where where is it? You know, now we're just still living in fear. So we're waiting for the next pandemic, you know, to come along.
Oh, it's crazy. And, I feel sorry for my fellow men that got sucked into that. But like you said, the truth is dripping out. And, for me, I've just kind of, and I'm sure we'll talk about it soon anyway, but,
Yeah.
I've taken a step back from that front line. And
Yeah.
for me, what was important during these last 2.5 years, especially, was to
Yeah.
be that voice at the top of the cliff before people decided to jump off. Um,
Yeah.
Through this journey, my positions have changed, and you were with me in that as well. We ended up changing our position, and we ended up at the bottom of the cliff,
Yeah.
helping all those ones that had fallen, and still do so. But now, yeah, I've come to the conclusion, or not conclusion, but I've come to this place, that the place I had to accept that people have made their decisions. They've made the choices what they've made, and I can't do anything anymore other
Yeah.
than just give compassion and love. So I've kind of stepped back and I've kind of turned more towards my family, my garden,
Yeah.
living our best life as opposed to being the big voice out there yelling.
I think that's really important because, you know, I've spoken about this before, where sometimes the most important thing for you to do is to go home. You know, go home, love on your family, you know, love on your husband, love on your children, and then you can put your cape on, you know, and God knows when, because, you know, we can't be at the front grounds, you know, the front line all the time, because we get tired, you know, tired and exhausted.
Yeah,
And, you know, the thing is that each of us have a part to play. We don't have to do everything, we can do some things, you know. And
absolutely.
I've seen you time and time again, you know, rise to the occasion and just have loved your journey. And I'm just going to show a few pictures because
Yes, please.
actually we can talk to these things.
Hey, whoa, I'm just going to tell my kids to turn the music down, but yeah,
Okay.
go for it. I'll be back in this.
I love that. This is the whole, you know, the fun part of having your own show. It's just like, you know, it doesn't even matter. But yeah, Karen, you're right. Arjun will never apologize. But look at it. She's actually losing the plot. She did apologize to calling David Seymour, you know, hot mic, you know, drop the mic after you say that someone's a prick. That's what
Oh my God.
she called. Yeah, she called him out. Well, her mic was still on.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
and so she did apologize. But you know what? I'm gonna show this because I think it's amazing. This is tell us about this. I love this photo.
Oh goodness. So this is my cow. Can you hear me? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is our cow Pango, and she was about to give birth. So she was very heavily pregnant, and she was lying in the paddock, and I could just see her breathing was getting laboured, and so I just went down there and just gave her some love and just told her it was going to be all right because it was her first baby. Yeah. So that was
Good.
that was that moment. I'm all about birthing, I'm a natural birther.
I think you are. I think there's something about you that is, just so incredibly, about new life. And I think it's in everything that you say and do. Um, yeah, I can hear my puppy's like wanting to come in here. We're
The
having
life of
fun
the
here at the
mums.
moment. Here we go. This is someone very special. I think it'd be cool to, introduce.
Well, that's my darling. That is Raniera. He's my
Oh,
husband.
did
And
I did I remove
yeah,
him?
did you?
I'm not very good at this.
It's all right. We're doing good. We're doing good. And that photo was taken at the South Auckland Heroes Awards. And
Can you tell us about that?
yeah, no, so it was awesome actually. It was in that, because when you've been on the battlefield, like we just spoke about,
Yeah,
we're exhausted, and
yeah.
the beautiful thing about my husband as the head of our family, he's always led the way. When COVID hit and post measles and researching and science and data, which I just was soaking up. I loved all of that.
Yeah.
And then he allowed me to step on the battlefield. He
Yeah.
allowed me to lead and to be out in the front. And while he allowed me to do that, he looked after the home front. He looked after the kids. He ensured that everything was running smoothly at home, and released me to be able to go and step into what God's purpose, to use my mouth, to use my voice. And so that night we won an award, the Innovation Award, at
Oh,
the South Auckland Heroes Award dinner, run by the Freedom and Rights Coalition.
sure.
Yeah, so but we'll talk about that a bit more. It was around Mana Inc. and what we
Yeah,
had
and
prepared.
that's what we want to just bring up right now, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Do you want to tell us a little bit about Monique?
yes, awesome. So there were five of us founders created Mana Incorporated, and so we were five kaiako or teachers from Papakura High School that got mandated out of our jobs at the end of last year. Before the end date, we had come together and trying to find strategies of how do we not let this happen.
Yeah.
And we collectively pushed back, but maintaining our mana, keeping our mana intact, and ensuring that those around us, that we just still were very honourable, very integral, and did it, with transparency and just, the best way that we could do. So anyway, we ended up leaving, but we all left with our mana intact. And straight away, we came back and we started regathering, because it was really hard at that time, because none of us knew how the heck we were going to get any money. We couldn't go on any benefits or anything. It was just such a crazy time. You've got kids to feed and bills to pay. A wise old man, I wouldn't call him old actually, my cousin, Watson, he said to me many years ago, he said, "You are the wānanga." So what he meant by that was, because we both me and my husband are creatives. So he is a carver, I'm a traditional weaver, and of course I do miri miri, which is hands-on healing, massage, and rongoa. And so we were brought in to Papakura High when that was in the height of crisis back in 2017. And so we were brought in to use our gifts and our creative skills as a vehicle to touch the rangatahi, or the youth, that no one else could touch. So what was sad is that when we left, or when we got told to leave, should I say, not only did it impact us as, mum and dad and parents, but it also impacted the rangatahi that we were taken away from as well. So, in a nutshell, last December, we started to talk about, or just to validate each other, that we are amazing, that we are so gifted and talented, and people want what we've got. And we know by our fruit that the way we teach, we have impacted hundreds of kids' lives and hopefully transformed them for the better. That was always the goal of what got us in front of the kids anyway. Like, we're not trained teachers, we're artists that teach our passion and our love. And use that as the vehicle to inspire, enhance, and empower those rangatahi. So we decided, we just created an incorporated society. So we called ourselves Mana Incorporated. Mana because, mana, you can't even describe what that word is, but I think it's, we stepped out of our situation, that was forced upon us, and we rose up and we maintained our mana. We kept our mana intact. And so I was very, strategic, because I was sharing that journey as well, because there were thousands around Aotearoa, from firefighters, teachers, midwives, nurses. There were so many people that were affected by these mandates, and it was a way that we could inspire many of us that were so heartbroken and devastated, but inspire them to rise up and to realize that, our job description does not define who we are. We are so much bigger and better than that, and we can, dream as big as we want. So that's what we did. We dreamt big, and we were meeting nearly every week, and had a vision board, and so 6 months later, we were officially an incorporated society, and it was so funny. Our first contract was in the same school that kicked us out.
Oh, the irony.
The irony, but it was such a sweet moment. Us 5 walking back in there with our Mana Inc. gears, because they all knew us, and our CEO, Tumu, who for Mana Inc., she was the deputy principal at school, so people loved her because she was so incredible. And then the other 2 guys were, they ran the Services Academy at Papakura High, so military background, but very similar to, taking those kids that no one can do anything with, but using what we're good at to inspire them. So it was amazing, because the school was in crisis, and it was a different kaupapa. It was it was very different, and we were protesting on the side of the road and stuff like that. But we were standing up for other Māori in the workplace. But MOE, so Ministry of Education, were the ones that brought us in, and we had support from the local marae as well to bring us back in. But because our daughter was still in that space at school,
that was something you had to be.
We were like, if not us, then who? If not us, then who? They were just, because it was the Rūmaki Reo unit. So, 1, it's our baby in there. 2, we're kaiako and we can teach Māori stuff. And 3, where we were ex-tauira from there. So ex-teachers from there. So we already had a relationship with the kids. So we went in there and we delivered our program. So it wasn't the school program, it was our program. And it was in 8 weeks, 10 weeks, we were able to restore the Māori, because those kids were broken when we went in there. And by the time we left, they were ready for transition, because they were struggling, and it was beautiful. Yeah.
Mona, you just can't make this stuff up.
I know,
I'm just so amazed. You can't. Like, the very place that shunned you, you come back with mana. Like,
it was interesting, because it was so divisive. Like, there were we really saw the fors and the against, in the staff, for example, and so there was so much division within that space. So we hopefully came in and just threw all that away, and just wrapped everyone up in our arms and sing them songs and waiata, and they reckon that when we came back, everyone started coming back to the staff room, and there was all the laughter and joy was there, because it wasn't there before. Apparently, this is what we were told. So, we breathed life back into the old school. So, yeah, it was cool.
There is a question that, well, Elliot's watching this, but he
Oh, hey,
wanted to
Elliot.
know, hey, Elliot, what was behind the violence within the student and parent body some months ago? Do you remember that at
Oh,
Papakura High?
yes. Yes,
Are you able
yes.
to shed a little bit of light to
Yeah,
that?
I can definitely share to that. So, um, a lot of division also amongst the kids. So there was a big brawl started, and unfortunately, my daughter was a part of it as well. But it was the Pacifica whānau came and attacked the Māori whānau, the girls. The girls started it. So they had
Wow.
this big fight. But what I saw on that day, it ignited fights all over the place. So they were and like they were brawls, like punching, kicking in the head. It was awful. One of the kids got, at the time it was going around that they were stabbed in the head with a knife, but they just got hit with something. And when you hit on the head, there's a cut and lots of blood. So, but what I saw, and this is in the spirit, our kids have been through so much.
Yeah.
Through all the lockdowns, through being masked up, through all the oppression over them, because there's so much depression amongst our youth at the moment. And it was like the lid had been lifted off and they could just release all of this built up
Anger.
hurt, mamae, frustration, anger. And so what I saw was they were using this to just go blah and let it out. And so there were lots of different fights, and one would start here and then another one would kick off over here. So then the police were called in, and the brief that they were given was, I won't say because I can't remember the right words, but they pretty much came in how they did when they came to Wellington. The only thing missing was the riot gear. So they came in there. There were heaps of them. I couldn't even say how many were there, maybe 20 or 30. But they came in and they made their formations and they just went through and just pushed. So the school ended up being locked down, and it was so poorly handled. Some got locked in and then some got locked out. So because someone had made the call for all the students to leave, and then someone made the call, no, don't let them leave, because once they were out on the street, it could all ignite again. So the police were called in, the gates ended up being locked. What was interesting is they didn't actually tell anybody what they were doing, the police I'm talking about. So you've got all these parents rocking up, the streets have been cordoned off, they're coming to look for their kids. You've got all the kids out there waiting, terrified of what's going to happen. And then they tried to move all of the kids away. By then, the parents were coming in and they were like, what's going on? Tell us what's going on. Because news had got out already that there was a stabbing. And
right.
And we just had that legislation, the fear in the corridor around schools can lock down for 72 hours and hold your kids. So that had kicked in as well. So the week before, so the parents were freaking out over that. It was so poorly handled. And these cops, the other thing too, they weren't locals. So they were brought in from other areas to come and, deal with the situation. Now, the Papakura High School staff were all inside. They were all in their classrooms or in the staff room. The Mana Inc. whānau, because we know those kids, we were out there.
Yeah.
I stayed in the classroom, which is right by the marae, which is right by the front gate. And heaps of kids, I'd never seen them before, they fled and they ended up coming into where I was. So I just put on some music, made Milos, just talked to the kids, gave them my phone to ring their parents. And yet out in front of me, I was witnessing the doors had locked. The police started pushing all the rangatahi. And Kelly, who's part of Mana Inc. and another mama, they said to the police, hang on a minute, we've got this. Just tell us what you want them to do and we'll move them if that's what you want. and they
Yeah.
turned around and started pushing them. Now the pushes were so rough, one of my mates got whiplash, so there was a little boy, a little Samoan boy on like year 9, tiny, doing a shoelace up on the ground. Police just came up and bowled him over. Like it
Wow.
was just brutal and it was uncalled for. So then when the police were pushing our Mana Inc. staff, then the kids were like, don't push my fire, that's my fire. And then they started coming in and wanted to
Yeah.
have a go at the police. And then it was just creating so much. And then the parents started rocking up and they were swearing and like, what are you doing? Where's my kids? Open the gates. What's going on? And then
Yeah.
say a word. Oh, it was so poorly dealt with. And then someone made a call to the head sergeant, and then they all just miraculously left. They all got on their vehicles and left this community, our community, so enraged. We had a community hui the following Wednesday, and we got up and made a complaint. And we
Yeah.
asked for apologies from all the different stakeholders, one of them being the police. And they said to us, oh, no. We believe what we did was right. But we took it further. We went straight to the area commander. And he came and apologised to us and what happened to our staff. He came and apologised to our kids. And they're still in that place of wanting to come into the school and just repair and restore that damage and build those relationships back again, because that should never have happened. Not to our babies. No way.
So I just want to ask, since we're on this, and it's probably the first time I've heard about what happened there. The principal, the board, like Elliot's asked, what was their response to this? Why? I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
know
right.
this is new for schools and stuff to try and. I mean, sure. I mean, fights break out all the time with kids, but this is next level. Mona, what was the
That's,
principal and the board and the teachers? What were they doing?
well, gosh, I don't know if I can say this on here,
You
but
don't have to.
um,
If you
yeah,
can't, it's fine.
they're working through it. They're working through their leadership skills. Is all
I
I'm
love
going to
your
say. Yeah,
graciousness. I just love that you're so gracious.
but as the family, we made them accountable as well.
Yeah.
Now the principal, he did he did the best he could with what he knew.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But isn't that what you did too? Isn't that what all of you did? You did the best of what you calmed the kids down. You
yeah,
you stood there, again in the front line,
yeah.
and I feel in my heart that Mana Inc. is going to be bigger than next year than what you've even envisioned it. I feel like it will be able to flow through every school in New Zealand. We've got huge issues around parenting, which is a program that I ran at our primary school. To bring the kids back to school, the Restore Resilience program. This will be something that a big issue to battle with next year is not only bringing our kids back to school, but eliminating fear from them. There's a huge reason why they're not coming, not just because of that, but we have generations now that are on the benefit that why bother? Why bother? You just,
You're
your
so
mother, your grandmother.
you're so right, Leah. And we see that lack of motivation. There's no vision, no work ethic with many of our kids. Currently in Papakura here, we hear, and I might have the numbers wrong, but it's around 3,000 kids are unaccounted for. In
I
this,
There's, it's around 60%. It's gone up so much now that how uh, it's become an absolute emergency. Like we have at the moment parents fighting against the transgender and also the sexualization of our children, and yet we've got a huge issue of even getting kids to school. But why should they bother if this is the kind of thing that they're teaching our children. It's a real kind of
It is. Well, and I think, yeah, when they could call lockdowns at midnight, they start and that's it. They decide that the whole country's locked down, so they don't go to school. So, when they're seeing that being exercised just at the drop of a hat, oh, don't go to school. You're not going to school now because blah, 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 whatever reason. So a lot of them are like, oh, why do I have to come to school? What's the point? Like there's it's just shifted so much. It's changed so much. And, there's one of our girls at school and she wouldn't take her mask off. And because, we said, oh, you don't have to wear a mask because we're outside. And she just refused. And I just went up and spoke to her. I said, are you okay? I said, you don't have to wear your mask anymore. And she was like, oh, she goes, no, I feel safer with it on my face. And I said, what, from the virus? And she goes, no, I feel more comfortable hiding my face from people now. To reveal my face was the fear. That was the fear, is to let people see who she was behind the mask. And so for her, it was a comfort. Yeah. And I was just so saddened to hear that, Yeah.
That's become the norm, though. That actually that is the place. Our children have been traumatized by this in more layers than we can even imagine. But this is the time for us as parents, as adults, to start thinking of ways that we not only heal them but help us to heal ourselves in this process. Joseph just said traditional schooling is okay for some, but learning a life trade skill would be better for many. And I have to agree with you, because there's so many trades that we don't have enough workers. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I remember when I was at school, far out, many of my friends left as soon as they turned 15 and they went straight into trades, apprenticeships. My first career, I was a hairdresser, so I don't know. And I think too with our people, we're very hands-on. We're very creative and very, our hands
tactile.
Can do so much, and very good at it. If it's a mechanic or if it's, all of those, trades that doesn't seem to be priority anymore. Like I look at, for example, my son who's year 13, he's brilliant. Like he's got a brilliant mind. He's also an incredible musician. For him, school was all about his music. And I don't think he actually passed any of the other stuff, even though he had the potential to, but he got through on music. So it's just an accumulation of numbers. That means he's passed or not. He's not actually walking away with any skill. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just so different. So different.
It's funny you say that, because my son, my youngest one, he wrote a speech, and I'm not sure if I shared this before, but he wrote one that school is a cookie cutter. And he stood in assembly and spoke about how him and his Pacific Island friends are very musical. They're very, practical, tactile, and school has cut them out. They don't fit in that. The cookie cutters of the music side of them. They're creative in that way, and it's not used like English and English and maths, which is apparently the lowest at the moment it's ever been. Kids at school. So just even for him, coming away from school, because even in his high school, he was told that he had to wear a mask. He was sent home because he had nodes in his nose, and so he didn't wear a mask. He decided at the end of that year, you know what, Mum, I'm finishing school. So he went and picked kiwi fruit. He's been farming, and carving, and out in nature, and just learned so much more, I think, in his last year than he would have been at school. But that is what they've come to, their conclusion.
Wow. It's beautiful. Your son, he's so amazing.
Ah, yeah, he's in America at the moment. He decided, you know what, my father's American, so I'm going to be an American citizen too. So he's off there visiting his grandparents.
Oh.
Saved up. He just just the kind of things that, we wouldn't have been able to experience otherwise. We would have carried on in our normal life, right? So in some ways, can we be grateful for what's happened? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Oh, wow, absolutely. Like a blessing in disguise, eh? So, in hindsight, we always see what we've been given, and those opportunities to rise up would be the best we could be. And I definitely believe COVID was one. You either sank or you flew. And I think it really was a test on everyone's courage and how brave you were, your resilience, your determination as well to push through, even though it hurt like crazy.
Yeah.
I look back at what we've achieved as Mana Inc. and there's no way we would have stepped out of a comfortable place if we had not gone through those an awakening. Absolutely. We've all got it. We just had to believe in it and believe in it so much that you made it happen. And that's what we did. So, just going back to where we are now in Mana Inc., I can't reveal too much yet, but we will do another show on this.
Yes.
However, we're in a space now, we're actually working with the youth that have been the fallout of the lockdowns, the fallout of mandates, and that time of trauma. So, these kids are high profile, doing really dumb things, naughty things, and crime and whatever. I'm not going to say too much, but what we've done is we've created a program where, while all other agencies are closing down over summer, we put our hands up because we were at the table, with the cops and through what happened with the brawl and the response, and then we kept finding ourselves at leading tables with all of the key stakeholders in Papakura, and the same issues kept coming up around youth crime and what are we going to do? What can we do? And we knew as Mana Inc. that we definitely could help deliver something that was transformational, not just something to fill their time, something that was actually going to change the course of their life from the moment they hit us. And we believe so much in what we carry and each individual, what we can do to impart and inspire these rangatahis. So the next 10 weeks, well, we're into week 3 now, so the next 7 weeks we are we've created a program and to wrap around these youth and their parents. Oh, well, most of them only have mums, and help to support the mums because they were also in a space of being very distressed, feeling like they've failed. 2.5 years of not being able to sleep because they didn't know where their kids were, all of that stuff. So, wrapping around the mums. And then, but what was beautiful is that because we already knew these kids from school, they're from our community, we're actually able to go into their homes and say, hey, what's going on? What can we do? How do we fix youth crime? How do we fix youth crime? I don't know the answer, but I do know what we're doing to help support those youth that are in youth crime is just believing in them, empowering them to believe in themselves, loving on them. And so back to this program that we have created, it is so unique. And what's unique is that because they co-designed it with us.
Sure.
So we listened to their voice because no one else has ever listened to them. I'm talking about all the agencies, all the government systems. They just want to lock them up and throw away the key, but no one's actually sitting down and saying, hey, what do you want to do? What are you good at? So, we know some want to do scaffolding, some want to hunt and fish, some want to learn how to play the drums and the guitar, some want to rap, and so allowing them or creating them that space where they can focus on those things that bring them joy, that validates their purpose, then takes and we've seen it within 3 weeks. It's taken all the focus of when's the next run to, oh yeah, nah, when are we going down to the track, or when are we learning power snatches, or when are we getting in the ring, or so it's so cool. It's all I can
Yeah.
say. It's so
So,
amazing.
Mona, does this include the family? Is this a sort of a wrap around their family? Because it's one thing to keep them busy. It's a whole nother thing when they go home. Like what how's
Yeah,
this going to change them?
totally. Totally. So yes, so we're wrapping around the whole whānau as a unit.
Good.
So
Yeah.
they've been a part of the co-designing as well, and I've made it a point that they come and meet me every week. So
Okay.
the boys will be doing this over here with Matua Raniera, that's my husband, or Matua
Yeah.
Albi. They'll be doing anything over there, and then me and Kels will come in and we'll have a check-in with the ladies. So it's a bit of a legacy session, really. So it's like check-in, debrief, what's happening in terms of, court, um, judges, whatever's happening, share with us. How can we support you? And then
Mm,
also just planting those seeds. So what do you want to do? What
yeah.
what do you want to do that's going to be your place where you're restoring your mauri, where you're
I love
restoring
that.
your mana? And so I had a thought, because after this 10 weeks, we're hoping, all going well, that we'll roll out a 2-year program.
What
So then
about West Auckland?
well,
Come to West Auckland, please.
so we're hoping to roll out a 2-year program. And I said to them, because I teach korowai, how to make traditional cloaks and
Yeah.
kakahu, out of muka and harakeke. And so I said, how would it be if after 2 years, when your sons graduate, and you're able to clothe them in a kakahu or a korowai that you've made, and their
Yeah.
eyes lit up. And so, even doing helping them in that journey, like it's a long process. But once again, it's just the vehicle to come together for
Yeah.
Noingatanga, to,
Is
yeah.
is this a pilot program? Will this be a pilot for the next 10
Yeah,
years?
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Well, really, the next 7 weeks are the pilot as well. So
Okay.
the need was for our rangatahi right here, right now, and incorporating the mamas in there. But there's also, the siblings that have been impacted hugely around what's been happening
Yeah.
in families, and also in terms of the business owners as well, and the community that have been
Yeah.
harmed. So it's also setting up um, layers of workshops or wānanga to wrap around them as well, because we want our kids, because the process at the moment is, have this meeting, get curfewed, uh, write a letter of apology, released, and then they do it all over again. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
that
right. So we
recidivist.
just like
Yeah, like they just keep going around and around in a circle. But we want them to come to that place where they actually are really remorseful, and they come to that place where they actually really do mean sorry, and they do want to restore what they've broken, and help heal the harm that they've inflicted. So
yeah.
you got to get to the heart. You talked about my heart. I've got a heart for these kids, but it's also touching on their hearts and helping heal their hearts, because many of them are brokenhearted. They've had
Yeah.
real hardships. It's hard.
And most of them, would we say they are from a single parent home?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that fatherlessness
Yeah.
again. We've spoken
Huge
about
word.
that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Not having good male role models. Most of them are unfortunately in jail. Um, yeah. So it's, the struggle is real, and the fruit from that, we're seeing it in the next generation. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So Mona, we've only got just a couple of minutes left. I just want
Oh
to
my
ask you to inspire those who have gone through this for the 2.5 years. You have now set up an incorporation from that and from like the ashes, like a phoenix has arisen. How can you encourage other people to who may be, still in that slum of what do I do with my life? How do I do something with what's happened, because you can, it's sometimes easy to stay being a victim, but
God.
how can you speak to that just as we're coming to a close, and also I'll get you to close us off in prayer as well.
Okay, kapai, kapai. Awesome, beautiful question. Thank you, Leao. I think, yeah, just dream big. You know, we were throwing some words around this morning. Hei whakakā, hei whakakā tōmana, hei whakakā au moimoia. So whakakā means to ignite what's deep, deep down in your puku. You know what that fire that you're born with, that God's given you. It's all in there, and it's just finding what activates that in yourself, and then just allow it to burn and burn brightly. You know, it's all you carry it. It's already within you. You just got to have the courage to, yeah, just go for it.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for being here tonight and for sharing your heart. I know we didn't get to see many pictures of you, but we will speak again because I'd love to meet the rest of your team and might even have Elliot on the panel as well so he can ask you some more questions since he's
Awesome.
in youth as well. um,
Yes.
so, yes, so I'm just wondering if you wouldn't mind just closing us off um, in prayer, if that's okay.
Awesome. Um, Thank you, Leao. Thank you for your invite. Thank you, Elliot. You are amazing. I love what you do. You're so vital for our people right now. Yep, Lord Father, I just thank you for every word that's dropped from our tongues, Lord Father. And Lord, may they pierce the heart and the spirit and the minds of whoever's listening, Lord Father. Lord, just reignite that fire in our bellies so we know that we can do all things and all things are possible. And Father, with your hand upon us, just open up our paths and guide us to where we need to be. Just thank you for all our families. Keep us safe. Keep your hand upon us and remind us of the purpose you born us with. We praise you and we thank you in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, guys. Ka kite anō.
Ka kite.